This is the Chapter 5 Mid-Test Review for Math 6. So this is going to cover sections 5.1 to 5.4. And these are going to be ratios, rates, and unit rates. So let's go ahead and get started. So our first slide says to write the ratio of smiley faces to hearts. And we want to explain what that means. So we're going to take our ratio and put meaning to those numbers. So here there are three ways to write a ratio. The first way is our fraction. So we have to do smiley faces first. So there's 6 of those. To how many hearts, which are 4. And we always want to simplify our ratios. So 6 to 4 we can actually simplify by dividing both by 2. And we get 3 to 2. Then we can take that fraction form, write it in colon form. So 3 colon 2. And then also using the word 2 to compare those. So we've got fraction form, colon form, and then the word 2. And explaining what the ratio means to take this ratio 3 to 2 and say for every 3, and that 3 stands for smiley faces. For every 3 smiley faces, there are 2, and the 2 stood for hearts. So that's us explaining what the ratio means, putting meaning to those numbers. So let's go ahead and try another one. It says write the ratio of lightning bolts to moons. So again, lightning bolts, that number of lightning bolts has to go first. Moons come second. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 lightning bolts. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 moons. So here we can't simplify. So we take that fraction form, write it in colon form, and also with the word 2. Again, we want to explain what it means. So for every 4 lightning bolts, there are 3 moons. And that would be us explaining our ratio. Our next question actually talks about finding the missing values in a ratio table. And then we need to write the equivalent ratios. So we're going to go ahead and look at the information that we have here. We have 6 cars to 4 trucks. And then we have 12 cars. We have to figure out how many trucks. 40 trucks, figure out how many cars. So here we can multiply or divide to get from one column to the next. So I'm going to look from 6 to 12. To get from 6 to 12, we're going to multiply by 2. So we have to do the same thing to our bottom number. So 4 multiplied by 2 gives us 8. And then we can also go all the way back to the beginning with our numbers here. 4 to 40, we multiply by 10. Same thing at the top here, we're going to multiply by 10. So 6 multiplied by 10 gives us 60. And that would be our final answer. So here, again, we're finding missing values. To get from 5 to 15, I multiply by 3. So I have to do the same thing at the top here. So 3 multiplied by 3 gives me 9. As this one as well, we're going to start from the beginning. To get from 3 to 12, I multiply by 4. So I do the same thing at the bottom here. So 5 multiplied by 4 gives us 20. And that would be, again, our 2 final answers. What I forgot to do on the first one, actually, so let me go back and fix that. To write the equivalent ratios, we're looking at our columns of numbers. So here would be 6 to 4, 12 to 8, and 60 to 40. Those are our 3 equivalent ratios. We're not going to simplify those. We're going to leave those alone. So let's go ahead and do the same ones here. We have 3 to 5, 9 to 15, and 12 to 20. And those are our 3 equivalent ratios. And our third one here, to get from 2 to 8, we multiply by 4. Do the same thing down here. We get 12. And then 3 to 33, we multiply by 11. Same thing at the top here. We multiply by 11, so we get 22. And again, our 3 equivalent ratios are 2 to 3, 8 to 12, and 22 to 33. Those are our 3 equivalent ratios there. This next one says you can buy an 8-pack of Coke for $6.93 or a 6-pack of root beer for $4.87. Which is the better buy? So what I'm going to start with is actually setting up my two different rates. So it costs $6.93 for an 8-pack, or it costs a $4.87 for a 6-pack. And here, we can't really compare anything yet because there's nothing in common. So I want to get per bottle how much we're paying. So here I'm going to divide by 8. So I'm actually getting the unit rate here. And our second one we're going to divide by 6 to get per bottle there. Again, the unit rate. So I'm going to take $6.93 and I'm going to divide that by 8. Now here it might not go in evenly, which is fine. We may have a remainder, but we just work with what we got. So let's see, 8 goes into 53 6 times, and that's 48. We have 5 left over. Now here the decimal would continue, but since we're talking money, we're really only going to focus on 2 decimal places. So we can say this is just about 86 cents a piece. And we can do the same thing over here. We're going to divide our $4.87 by 6. Figure it out that way. So 6 goes into 48 8 times. Bring down our 7. So 6 goes into 7 one time. Again, there's a remainder, and that's okay. We're focusing on just 2 decimal places since we're talking money. So this one is going to be 81 cents per bottle. So if you look back at our question, it says which is the better buy. So basically, which one's cheaper? And in this case, that 6-pack for $4.87 is cheaper. So that one is actually the better buy, the root beer one. So let's go ahead and keep going. Here it says write a rate, just one, that represents the situation. So here what we have to remember is we have to pick numbers that are lined up. So we need our labels liters and minutes. That's important. And then you can honestly pick any of these lined up numbers, not our 0, 0. We don't want to use those. But I'm just going to randomly pick this. And that means 30 liters. 30 liters in 9 minutes. And that's a rate. Now I could do 10 liters to 3 minutes, 20 liters to 6 minutes, and so on. As long as you pick one where the numbers are lined up, you're totally fine. So we can keep going. Here it says decide whether the following rates are equivalent. Again, that word equivalent. So we're looking for, are these equal? So I'm going to set up our 2 rates, 25 pages in 5 minutes, or 14 pages in 6 minutes. And there are a few ways we can actually approach this problem. One being shoelace method. If we did shoelace method or cross product method and we got the same product, then they would be equivalent. Another way we can do this is actually try and simplify the fractions. And if we can simplify these fractions, if they equal the same amount, the same fraction, then they are equivalent. So I'm actually going to divide here because I look at 25 and 5 and know that they have a common factor of 5. So I'm going to divide by 5. And I get 5 pages per minute, per 1 minute. So over here, I can divide, I know for a fact I can divide these both by 2. So then I get 7 pages in 3 minutes. And because I can't simplify this any farther, then these are not equivalent. If I could keep simplifying and make this 7 to 3 somehow 5 to 1, if they both ended up being 5 pages in 1 minute, then they are equivalent. But in this case, they're not the same. If I change this 1 minute to 3 minutes by multiplying by 3, then I would also have to do that to the top, and I'd get 15 pages in 3 minutes, which again would not be equivalent. So our next problem says write a unit rate for the situation. And with a unit rate, that means it's per 1. So I'm going to go ahead and write that up there, per 1. So we are given the rate $2.83 for 6 avocados. I'm just going to put an A there for now. But we want to find the unit rate. And what that means here is per 1. So I want to know per 1 avocado, how much would it cost? So I'm going to find the unit rate by dividing both numerator and denominator by 6. Because we want that denominator to be a 1. So I'm going to take this $2.83 and I'm going to divide that by 6. We bring our decimal straight up. 6 can go into 28 about 4 times. So So that would be 24. We have 4 left over. Bring down your 3. Then 6 can go into 43 about 7 times, which would give us 42. And now here we have a remainder. In order to continue dividing, we need to bring a 0, like put in a 0 there, bring it down. 6 goes into 10, just 1 time. Again, we still have a remainder. But since we're talking about money, I wanted to go to 2 decimal places, but I had that 3rd one in there to see if I needed to round up or down. So here, for every avocado, and again, it's not exact, it's about, but for each avocado, we're paying about 47 cents per 1 avocado. And that would be your unit rate there. Here it says you earn $35 for washing 7 cars. How much do you earn for washing 4? So it's $35 for 7. So I'm going to put that in a rate form, 35 for 7 cars. I want to know per 4 cars. Now if I think about it as a ratio table almost, to get from 7 to 4, I'm not able to do that, but I can divide by 7. And what that's going to do is give me, again, that unit rate. So I'm going to figure out per 1 car how much am I getting paid. So for 1 car, I'm getting paid $5. And then from that point, I can figure out, well, how much am I getting paid for 4 cars? If 1 car is $5, I want to get to 4 cars. So I'm going to multiply by 4. And I earn $20. So my final answer would be $20 there. So I found the unit rate. I put it in a table format. You didn't really need to do that. You could have just done $35 over 7 and divided by 7 to figure out how much money per car and then gone from there. But I just like to keep my work a little bit more organized so I don't lose track of things. So I put it in a table form. And that is actually our last problem on our review guide. So go ahead and watch anything you need to rewatch to study. Make sure you look over your notes, look over graded homework, and good luck on your test.